Whoa, monster Jeep, look out! Today, guys, we're going to get this FC cab off the chassis once again. Then we're going to put the new motor in. My buddy Rick, the Jeep doc, is coming over, and hopefully we're going to get this thing fired up. Remember, we're giving this sucker away. All the details are over at BleepinJeep.com/giveaway. Let's get started. Here's a tip that might be helpful for you at some point. I'm preparing the motor to pull, but there's this one thing I can't get because I don't have the special tool to remove this fuel line. There's some little clips in there, and you have to have this tool that goes in there and pushes them open. So I took a Sharpie marker, in this case a Milwaukee marker, and I just cut the end off exactly the width of this, and then I split it down the middle. So what I'm going to do is pop this on here. Oh, don't lose it. Alright, got that on there. Once you get that on there, use a pair of pliers or something. We'll start pushing this. So you're going to push the fuel line this way, push the pliers that way. There we go. Now, I'll go buy that tool, but if you don't have one, that is the workaround. A little Sharpie cap. I wanted to stop and take a second to show you guys this. It's not something I'd normally show in a video unless I'm teaching or doing something like a learning process. But there's a lot of boring stuff that goes into these videos that you don't typically see. And a lot of people were saying, just slap this thing together, you're going to give it away for free anyhow. But that's not what we're doing here. I want to make this right. If I'm going to give it away to somebody, I want to do to the best of my ability anyway. So, new seals, new gaskets. Not everywhere, but just where it needs it, of course. There's a lot of things, though, that you're not going to see that goes into this project. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it doesn't happen behind the scenes. Now, where did I put those bolts? That's something else that takes a lot of time, too. Lost bolts.
Never fear, the Jeep doc is here with parts. We're going to fix this thing.
Alright, look who it is. It's Rick, the Jeep doc. He's here to help me out with the FC, all the way from Virginia.
We got
wherever that place is at.
DEI heat shields.
Alright, you got heat shield for the injector rail.
Yep. So, got a brake pedal. Got the bracket for the brake switch.
Brake switch bracket.
Yep.
That, I can probably use that. This box of goodies.
Alright, 4-hole injectors.
Oh, Dodge Neon
that.
injectors.
Yeah, we're going to upgrade that.
Sweet.
And a hat.
Oh, a beanie. Jeep doc.
New water pump.
Now, why do we need a new water pump? You think the old one's bad?
Just for maintenance, because we don't know what the mileage is and what the condition of that one is.
Probably 1,000,000 miles.
Yeah, so got everything exposed. You might as well put it in.
You look like you got spider bit.
I did. I got spider bit.
Poor
thermostat housing.
Poor Rick got bit by a spider on his face.
Yeah, don't look at it. So, do a little bit of maintenance to this thing, make sure it's going to run right.
What are we going to do with the thermostat housing?
So, on mine, the CJ I'm building, I drilled this port right here and tapped it 1/8 NPT thread so I can put a thermostat switch or a thermostat sensor in this. That way you can put an aftermarket gauge in the dash. You know, a little bit of maintenance on it, make sure it's going to be right for somebody. You don't want them.
Make sure you go follow the Jeep doc on YouTube. He's got a cool project going in his garage.
I'm going to turn into Spider-Man later.
He's got a scrambler build that he's working on. So, yeah, let's do this. Got the motor in there. We just need to do a few things to it, and we'll have it started up here shortly, right?
Yeah, we're gonna try and get that harness all wrapped on there. First we gotta pull the fuel rail.
So a lot of these engines have vapor lock because the exhaust manifold heats the fuel rail, and it boils the fuel, and then that's bad. You don't want that. So this thing that we're going to put on there keeps the heat from getting to the fuel rail.
Because that's no fun being stuck on a trail and having a vehicle that won't start.
Yeah, but if that happens to you, let it cool down, then restart. Usually if you leave it running though, it won't happen. It's only when you turn it off. We've been having a heck of a time getting this fan off. We tried the method which worked great on the other motor, which was this gun here, the air hammer, with the chisel on it, but it is not working on this one, so we're going to try doing MacGyver.
And try to use the friction from it to keep the water pump pulley from turning.
Say water.
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 Water pump.
Water pump. Water pump.
That gives me hell. From Virginia, okay? Yeah, that thing is tight.
I told you it was tight.
All right, it'll work.
But he's better at the air hammer than I am, so we'll see. He has more practice with the air hammer.
You can see it's already been done once. See the rust right here?
Yeah, look
Unlike
how
this one.
Look how gnarly this thing is. That was my attempts.
It's okay.
I think I did one more side too. Yeah, that side.
Yeah. So, all right. So we'll try it.
It's moving. Oh, I got hit.
All right.
Yeah. We got a tip for you to pull the fuel rail. What's the tip?
Okay, so tip on pulling a fuel rail, you don't want to pull on one end and just yank it up, because that's one that's going to bend your cups that the fuel injectors go into. So you want to put even pressure on it. Once you get all your bolts out, grab either end, and with 2 fingers, just pops right out. So that way you put even pressure on all your fuel injectors, and you're not going to bend these little cups. I've seen people bend these cups and then it leaks fuel once you put everything back together.
Those things look pretty nasty.
Yeah, they're not nice.
All right, good thing we're replacing that.
Absolutely. Anytime I got an engine out, all this little stuff is what I replace, and it makes it a whole lot simpler.
Oh.
Ooh, hello.
It's dry.
Ugh, look at that plastic impeller. That's original.
Go fast.
I'm gonna flush it out.
Oh, that looks so sexy. Straighten it up there a little bit. Look at that. So Rick is over here. He's brought me all these fancy parts. This is going to be the fanciest FC that has ever been built. Look how fancy this is.
4-hole injectors, vapor lock covers. It's an aftermarket, and it didn't have it in it. So just a 1/8 hole is all you need. Watch it, it's hot.
Nah. Look at all these new parts on here.
We're gonna use Matt's needle nose. You see how it just fell in place? Just like that. That's all you need to do.
Get her in there. Get her done, son. I just want to show how fancy this is.
This drives me nuts. Why can't you put it over here?
Yeah, they should have put that on the outside, or at least in between the injectors, not right in the middle of one.
DEI, don't get me wrong. I love your product, but let's put the tag somewhere else. Because it covers the injector hole.
How about right here, hanging off the end?
Yeah, that'll work.
All right, we're making this thing look fancy, but I wanted to tell you guys, because of the 0506, I think it was 0506, right? Mm-hmm. The oil pump drive assembly / camshaft position sensor / whatever you want to call this thing was bad in some of these motors. And since we're changing, well, this one is the 04 motor.
This is 04.
But we're using the wiring off of the 06. So we have this new sensor with the new oiling part. What's different about it, do you know?
So what they did, originally they had 2 bearings that supported this shaft. What would happen is this bearing that was down here would prevent the oil from traveling up the shaft, and it would ruin the bearings on that shaft. So what they did is they removed this bearing on this end so the oil is able to travel up, and there's still a bearing here, or a bushing here. And now the oil can travel up into the distributor housing, or actually oil pump shaft housing, whatever you want to call it, cam position housing.
There's so many names for this thing. For it.
So basically all it is, there's a reluctor wheel on the inside of here. This sensor here reads the reluctor ring, and it tells the computer what relative position the cam is in compared to the crank, so it fires everything correctly.
And typically that would be where your distributor would be on an older model.
Right.
Why can you not just call it a distributor? Because it doesn't do the same thing?
Doesn't do the same thing. There's no distributor cap. There's nothing to distribute.
Right.
So all this is doing is reading the tones off of the tone ring inside here.
All right. So, but to do that, we need to find top dead center. So we're going to pull spark plug 1.
Number 1.
And we'll show you how to do that.
All right, so what we're doing is we pulled number 1 spark plug. I'm going to put finger on the hole, and we're going to rotate the engine over so we can feel the compression stroke. So once we get it on the compression stroke, we know that we're not 180 out or so forth. So what we're trying to do, there's a mark on the crank, and there's a mark on the timing cover. Once you feel compression in the cylinder starting to come up, you know you're going to be on compression number 1. That's what the engine timing is all set off of. So we have to rotate the engine, get the compression stroke on number 1, and set the timing mark on 0. That way we know we're dead on number 1. So we can drop the distributor in, and we know we're in the right position.
The reason you want to do that is it's kind of like setting your 0. If you have a gauge and you're reading it but you don't know 0 is 0, then it's useless, right?
Right.
So this is like setting our gauge to 0 basically. Okay, so he's going to turn the flywheel over and feel with his finger for when it releases air, correct?
Yeah, well, you want to feel it build air up, and this is hard to do with just a wrench. You really should do it with the starter. It's a little bit easier, but sometimes it'll go right past the timing mark, and you don't want it to go past it.
You also got to keep in mind that cylinder number 1 was the one that we had issues with. Not building compression.
Right. You heard it?
Something beeped.
So that was a squeak. It was the compression in the cylinder coming up. So the timing mark is right here. So we know we're starting to build compression on cylinder number 1.
Okay, so we're going to rotate that over to
the timing mark right
there. So line that up with that.
Not really supposed to go backwards, but anyway.
If you were to just line this mark up with that alone, and that's all you did, you could still be right, but you could also be 180 out. So keep that in mind. because that's going to rotate around twice for every time that this builds compression once. Is that correct?
Yes. 4-stroke.
Let's make a 2-stroke.
Suck, squeeze, bang, and blow. So what I'm doing is pulling a retainer. It retains the oil pump drive / cam position sensor housing out.
So now that we have that at top dead center, is it still possible to get that 180 out?
It is possible because we think it built compression. It's not 100% because we don't have the starter hooked up. And we could have just heard it on another cylinder, but I felt it when it started to build a little bit of compression. If it's on compression stroke now, it's going to be dead on time, number one, if you know for a fact that it built compression.
So how do we know when we take this one out that we're putting the next one in the same exact position?
Well, it doesn't matter what position you put the distributor or cam position sensor in.
Okay.
It's going to be on number one.
Okay.
Because it is locked out. It is locked out with this little pin. So if you took, I don't want to drop that gasket. So if you took this cover off, you'll see that this sensor right here reads a reluctor wheel. It has teeth on it. It reads a reluctor wheel. So it's locked in on number one right now. It's top dead center.
Okay.
So I could literally take this thing and set it sideways, backwards, whatever. It's on number one.
Okay. And then once you put that in, we'll pull the pin?
Pull the pin. Man, it came out easy. So what I'm doing is, if you notice, this is a flat piece, almost like a screwdriver. So this engages the oil pump shaft that's in the oil pump, obviously. And the cam drives this shaft, which in turn drives the oil pump. So you have to engage this correctly when you drop the distributor, or I keep calling it a distributor. It's a cam sensor.
I like to call it distributor.
All right. So what I haven't done, and I need to do, is coat this gear with some grease. To build an engine, you want to make sure everything's lubricated before you go to fire it up. So it's not going to have any oil on it right away. So what I'm doing is I'm taking and greasing this gear up so it's not a dry start, if you will. Makes the longevity of the gear.
Because there hasn't been oil circulating in this thing for a while.
Let's see if I can do this in one shot.
All right. See if it'll drop right in.
All right, so you want to go 45 degrees out. Boom.
Oh, first shot.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. We're one step closer. I hope you remembered the gasket.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's
If you remember the last video, we sent this wiring harness off to Hotwire Auto.
This thing is gorgeous.
That's what you're looking for right there, hotwireauto.com. And what they do is they strip everything out that you don't need, and you can specify exactly what you do need, what you don't need, and you can specify the lengths. So we had them extend the computer so that we could put it in the cab. You can have them cut anything out you want, add anything you want, but basically they go through the entire harness and make sure that it's all working properly. Would you add anything to that description?
So what he does is he goes through and you can specify like this. I'm stepping on the thing. So I add this engine temperature gauge so that wire throughout the harness. You can see where it's stitched in. So you can specify, like, if you're putting the motor in a, like a hot rod or something, you can have extra wires put in there so you can run your gauges, like autometer gauges and so forth. Well, he labels every stinking thing.
What's this one? Injectors. So
this would be covered in that plastic.
Idle air. So everything's labeled, and then they also add, which we should talk about, is this little fuse box.
Yes.
Can you open that? I've only got one hand.
So this has the ASD, all your relays, and your fuses that's necessary to run the engine. And that's all it is.
So it simplifies things, basically.
Absolutely.
Simplifies the entire process. So now we
all
know where everything goes.
Sealed, labeled, has its own serial number. So if you have trouble with it.
Check that out. Nice.
And I had this done 12 years ago on another scrambler. And that's how I got to know Chris. And he's done quite a few of them for me, like on my 47 Willys, and each one of them is of this quality. And it's just,
yeah,
it's uncomparable.
And it's not just Jeeps, he does everything, right?
Yeah,
hot rods.
Yeah, Hellcat engines. I mean, I believe he's got a connection for the computers and the harness, and it's like plug and play type stuff.
Right,
But
so.
this is just beautiful.
Hotwire Auto, tell him I sent you. His name is Chris. So we're going to put this thing on, and then we'll be able to start this sucker.
Yeah, done. Time. Oh.
Check it out. So we had to reuse the old throttle body because this guy wouldn't fit in there, one of the sensors. But as you know from the last video, I cleaned it pretty well. One of the most important things that we're doing, though, is we've got a new computer for this from Wrangler Fix. WranglerFix.com. And I get a lot of questions on Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff on what to do if your computer or your ECM is not functioning. One of the things you can do is send him your ECU, ECM, or computer, and he will fix it. Like, he'll go through the entire thing and just fix whatever's wrong with it. Soldering, whatever needs to be done, and send it back to you. He also can send you just a brand new computer, which is what he did in this case. It's just completely all new computer. This aftermarket computer, basically, that they design and make, I believe, in Florida. So, USA made stuff. Also, I was talking to Mark about the Wrangler Fix computers, and he's willing to give you guys 5% off and free shipping if you use the coupon code BR549. So, if you don't remember that a year from now, 6 months from now, you can always find those coupon codes on my website at BleepinJeep.com/member discounts. Or just go to BleepinJeep.com. Right up at the top there, it says discounts. Click on that. There's a whole list of discounts that I've gotten just for you guys. But if you ever need a computer, 5% off, WranglerFix.com, free shipping. So that's the most important thing. Now we got to put gas in this thing. A Hotwire Auto, of course. They're wiring. And the Jeep dock, of course. He's very important as well.
Okay. Yeah, I'm important.
I couldn't have done this without him. So definitely check out his channel for sure. And go subscribe because he's really helping me out on this project here. And so all these wires, we have them plugged in. This wire set here goes into the cab, like we mentioned. And it's got everything I need on there. And it's kind of funny because usually that would come back this direction, but in this case it's going to go forward, so the cab actually sits, the dash actually sits up here. So everything's kind of backwards. Are we missing anything to try and start this?
We should be able to fire it.
We can't keep it running though because we don't have any water in it. And
say 15 seconds at the most.
Yeah, we need to put fuel in it. I think we're missing that. But
fuel pump. So.
Oh, we need to connect the fuel line.
Well, we gotta flush the fuel line first.
Okay. Yeah, we want to flush it and make sure there's no gunk in there. I did blow it out with air. So, cross your fingers. I will return in 10 minutes. 2 seconds for you. Whoa. Check valve is a little sticky. It hasn't been used in a while. We're breathing too many gas fumes up in here. Yep.
Got fuel?
Got fuel.
Is it clear?
Yeah. Yep, it's clear.
Okay.
Click! Oh no, we lost all the fuel.
Oh man.
Look what you did. Make sure you know how to cut it off.
So wiggle the shifter.
You want me to go the other direction?
Yeah.
It's trying.
So I've got power at the relay. So we need to check. Oh, who pulled that off?
You did.
I did? I don't remember pulling that off.
A ghost. I didn't pull it off. I don't. Maybe it just. I bet you one of these wires yanked it off. It's trying. Come on, baby. I hear something. I hear air coming out of somewhere. Oh, it's air coming out of here, out of the crankcase.
This battery's toast.
Backfired again.
Yeah.
It's not firing. It's not firing at all. We got no spark. We got no sparks. Ow!
She's like, I'm not.
We've tried 2 different coil packs, 2 different computers, 2 different. What else did we try?
Everything? 2 of everything?
2 different everythings, basically. 2 different distributors, 2 different, 4 different sensors. Reclocking 180. We've tried everything. Nothing is working. Nothing. Something is.
Added grounds.
Something is wrong. I got nothing. We've tried adding fuel. We added fuel. We're getting fuel.
We're getting fuel.
We're getting fuel. We're getting spark. Sort of. Sometimes. Nope.
Nope. She don't like it.
Sorry guys, we're gonna have to scrap the FC project and go with another project. What do you vote on next?
A complete overlay.
Should we build something that's already running and driving? That would be awesome. I need to trim, man. That is hairy. Okay, we're gonna try something else. It's top secret. Hope that it works. Try. Try it again.
Yay!
Okay, I'm going home.
Enjoy your 6-hour drive.
We'll explain to them.
8.
We cut out a lot of that stuff because, as Rick realized about midday today, tell him.
So The flywheel has 12 window ports. Let me get the flywheel.
There is a big difference between the flex plate for the 06 and the 04, which is what we put in here. And we didn't realize there was a difference. It's very close in years, but very different.
So can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
So the windows on this represent obviously the crank location at various points. This one only has 12, so there's groups of 4. This flywheel that came off of an 06 is what, 32 windows?
A lot more.
A lot more windows, so we weren't getting the right information to the computer through the crank sensor.
So we had an 06 computer. We had to replace all the wiring, including the 02 sensors for an 06, but we just had the wrong flex plate. Now we put it in and take off down the road.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
20 more minutes.